going to quickly revisit what we talked about all the way back in 1.3, focus language. So this was the third lesson of module one. That might seem a long time ago for you, depending on how you've accessed this learning. It might have not been that long ago for you. Either way, it's really important now to come back and revisit it because we have layered our understanding since then. So, as a quick recap, we want to think of our focus as a torchlight. When that light is shining on something, this is where our focus is being directed at that current point in time. We can either consciously choose where that focus is going, or our unconscious mind or our unconscious ability will take over and direct that torchlight for us. A fit focus spends most of its time consciously shining its torch. An unfit focus spends most of its time unconsciously shining its focus. So, for example, we've all been in that position where, we might have been in the car driving somewhere and all of a sudden we stop at a traffic light and think, how did I get here? I don't remember the last 2 minutes of that trip. Uh, we've all had some sort of experience where it's clear that we haven't been focused for that last little duration of time. An unfit focus has that all the time. It's sort of always bubbling away. And most of the time, we don't notice it because we don't have that traffic light in front of us to say, stop, how did you get here? Most of the time, our days just are like a snowball that keep turning and flowing and growing as it goes. So we want to continuously be practicing and exercising our focus so that we bring the ability into the conscious realm, into the muscle, into the power, into the focus. Here we are, 3.2, the focus. I am so excited to be revisiting the idea of focus because it is essential in meditation. When we are exercising the focus, we really need to understand what the focus is. We really need to understand what we're exercising. So to go all the way back to module one, lesson three, where we talked about the language of focus, and we started tweaking our understanding of focus back then by shifting our language to the analogy of a torch. So through that action step in the last module, you will have heard me multiple times now say, shift your light, or move the light of your focus onto this, or shift your torch onto this. Every single time I say that, I am addressing the specific skill of your brain to direct the focus like a torch, like the light of a torch. And we want to do that consciously as much as we can. Our brains will do it unconsciously without us recognizing it. And that is a sign of an unfit focus if it happens consistently and regularly. And a fit focus will direct the light of its torch consciously for the majority of the time. The more you do that, the more you connect to your experiences, the more you can remember, because it's all up in the conscious world. It's all up in that conscious experience where you are actually the pilot, where you are actually in control. So we know that our torch is the language that we're using for focus. We also addressed back then the idea of task switching. So it's really important to remember that the idea of multitasking is a myth. It's not necessarily how our focus works. when we are shining a light of our torch on something, so for example, I'm looking straight at the camera, straight at you, this is where my focus is shining. Now, if I was to glance over here and look at that cupboard over there, I would be not multitasking, I would be task switching. I've switched from this task to that task. Now that makes sense, right? Because it's clear, it's black and white, I'm task switching from here to here. Our brains are doing this all the time. So when we have multiple tabs open on the computer, when we're on the phone and also cooking dinner, and also dealing with the kids or trying to, wrangle a pet, whatever it is we're doing, it's all knotted up in this almost like ball of yarn in terms of all the doing that's going on. And we are task switching from one thing to the next. It might feel like we're multitasking, doing one thing at a time, but the light of your focus is only ever shining on one thing at a time. Now, this takes people some time to unpack. It's actually been one of the pieces of learning that's brought up a lot of defenses in a lot of people because we wear multitasking as a badge of honor in our society. The more that we can multitask, the more efficient we're being. That's not true either. We want to focus on a task and complete that task, or at least progress in that task as efficiently as possible. If I'm continuously task switching, coming back really quickly because I'm checking this email or I'm checking the time or I'm taking a quick call, whatever it is, I'm still task switching away from that task. Again, we are just remembering how we've refined our language. This is really important, and we didn't spend too much time on it back in Module 1 because it can be something that lots of people need to unpick and take some time to unpick. This is how we're going to be speaking about our focus and the idea of getting distracted. When you get distracted, you've task switched. You're shining your light on something else and perhaps been unconsciously pulled. And this happens in meditation all the time. And in the next lesson, 3.3, we're going to find out why that's a good thing. Because people tend to think that getting distracted is a sign of a bad meditation or a sign that I can't meditate because I've been distracted. That is a huge misconception and it's untrue. Let's find out why and let's start building on that knowledge in 3.3, the back and forth. We'll see you there.